What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man. And today we have a special guest on the show. I'm super excited to introduce you to Stephanie Grace Kaminski. Say what's up, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi everyone, I'm good. How are you guys?
Fantastic, fantastic. And Stephanie, we've been talking back and forth up leading up to the show, so we're super excited. Um, let's just get right into it, right? So like we've in our journeys and paths, I know you've heard some of the podcasts and what I've shared with some people in terms of how crazy I used to be. You met me at certain times, right? This was like
I
how many
did.
years ago?
So we met in 2012, I think it was.
2012-ish. Yeah, a couple years
So
before
I was about 22 and I don't remember how old you were.
I don't even know how I was either. But
I mean,
yeah,
you are 28 forever, so
yeah, 28 forever. That's right. Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page there for sure. Yeah, let's just a little bit. Let's go a little background in terms of how we got a chance to know each other, and then where we were at that level, and then let's just kind of get into it. I want to hear your journey. Again, for the people listening, right? The podcast is really a community for you to come use it whenever you need it. A little inspiration, a little motivation, and then also to understand that you're not alone. There's people out there that are dealing with other things. Everyone's got their thing in their chapter, and this is a great experience. And I'm glad that we get a chance to talk about it with you,
so
Stephanie,
excited.
to share that. So yeah, so where were you when we met? You know, what was your life like at that?
So when we met, I had just gotten into my first apartment solo, and it was me and my best friend from high school, and I had just met her brother and started dating him like an idiot. Um, and so moved him in my apartment with me and let him drive my car because he was living with his mom. And yeah, I was serving tables, working two jobs. I was working with dogs during the day, working at serving tables at night because no matter what, I was not going to have to move back with my parents. That's
Right,
where I was.
right. So at that moment, you were what, 22, just trying to figure it out, trying to make some money, live independently. And I think that's where we met because I was doing the same thing. I was like, I had a like little
Hmm.
apartment all the way upstairs, like a
Yep. All the
three-story
way.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
I don't know how I don't know what the initial introduction was, but somehow I had Ginger, right? And then you know you're always a great groomer or or someone that took care of animals. And so Ginger was really the only one that or you were the only one that w was able to cut Ginger's nails for
Literally.
the
Yeah.
longest. Yeah, yeah. So we
Yeah, I
definitely started.
remember how we met. Gracie, I had Gracie. She was a puppy.
Yeah, yeah,
And so
right.
Gracie and Ginger made friends. Remember, Gracie had
Right.
no other friends besides Ginger.
That's right. That's right. So we came together through our animal love, right? So that was cool.
Yes.
And likewise, I was sort of in the same, same, I guess, part of my life where I was looking to, be independent, make my money. I was serving as well. Didn't we serve together too? I think we served both at Olive Garden.
Olive Garden, right?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Yes.
So we both worked at Olive Garden for a moment too. So that was cool. And yeah, and I do remember there were certain times where you were with your other partner at the time, and things were a little crazy because back then too, I used to drink a lot. I used to smoke a lot. I know you used to do the same thing.
Yep.
And I would remember I'd be like, man, sometimes you guys got to these like levels of like arguments and excitement and all that stuff where I would try to I guess back and forth, we would always be talking to each other, kind of giving ourselves a little perspective and some feedback. But um,
Literally. Because I
yeah,
heard you as well with your partner at the time. And I'd be like, yo, what happened last night?
yeah, right, yeah, right. So we were very similar journeys. I feel like in terms of just what we were trying to do and figure out, and I guess when it comes to it, it's like figure out where our emotions are at and where they come from, right? I don't think I was as aware as I am now. I was definitely aware at that time in terms of hey positivity, motivation, etc. But I don't think I was as aware of all these things that led up to certain situations that then led me to do some things. That
I would agree with that statement.
yeah.
But you definitely kind of gave me a beginning of it, and you still had the nothing changes till you do slogan at that time, and you were like, you got to make the change yourself, and you would tell me all the time, and I'd be like, but how? And like
Right.
it finally clicked, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. You're right. I think for the most part, most of us like understand it or know that we need to. It's just figuring out the like where to start or what is the aha moment. Like how do I get to that level of actually start doing this change or taking these actions? Which again, so let's bring it into, let's go back a little bit. So bring us to your, where you came from. What was your chapter in life? How did you, what was your influence growing up? What was that like? And
So,
then take us through it, take us through
okay.
everything.
So I came from an addict mother
Mm,
who had a cocaine issue and, all the other substance abuse issues, but she also came from her own past. She had an abusive mother. She was in foster care, all that stuff. My father was a Hispanic from New York who was raised from a very hard woman. So he just did what he knew, and he was, mentally, physically, emotionally abusive, and he's not gonna want to hear that, but that's true. And my mom left me when I was 6 months old.
mm.
So
So you
I
never
had
really got a
another
chance
woman
to know
step
her?
in
Or?
to to fill that shoes of a mother, but my biological mother was non-existent till I was an adult.
Mm,
Um, The abuse that came from my father's side, I say is generational because we've all experienced it on that side of the family. Um, and unfortunately, I was molested as a child from 5 years old. So
damn.
that's where I started.
Damn. All right. Well,
Um,
hold on. Like that's crazy. So for your first memories, I guess from your first memories, it was just a tough. It was like a tough situation that you were in, like the cards that you were dealt with, or the situation that you were dealt with was a pretty tough one.
yeah.
And then how did you like? I guess take me through a little bit of like, what was that like emotionally in your head as a kid, and then right going to school, and then like how were you trying to filter through that, and then what were some
So
things that
looking
like
back at it as an
yeah
adult, I understand like where I was back then. I don't
right
really understand because I was a lot in my head, but it gave me like very bad anxiety and a lot of like self-confidence issues and looking for things that outside of myself, looking for things outside of myself that really can't come from outside of yourself, but you don't know how to fulfill those things when you haven't had a healthy, childhood, especially like your first 5 years are your most crucial, developmental years. And they were, they were just a mess, for me. Um, so I
like
just kind of like, I did, I mean, I can't even tell you exactly how I did a lot of the things because even my memories are like Swiss cheese.
mm,
Like, um, I'll remember certain things, but I won't remember certain things. Now as an adult and like, going through treatment that I'm going through and all that stuff, I'm starting to get memories back.
mm,
And those are hard to deal with when you get them back because it's like dealing with them for the first time, you know?
right, and you can feel that emotion.
Yeah, exactly. But I knew going through school, it was like it was shoved down my throat. Like you have to get good grades, you have to get good grades. So in order not to get my ass whooped, basically, I made sure that I kept my grades up, and I didn't really have to try in school. I was very smart.
Right.
Like as long as I paid attention in class, I did well.
Yeah.
Um, so that was pretty much my only thing. And
There this feeling on like walking on eggshells when you were at home? Is
yeah,
that yeah, like you
literally,
have to
because I
be
was
good,
getting
you have
yelled
to
at or I was getting, punished for any little thing. And like I just lived in punishment, literally, honestly. And I was like on lockdown throughout my whole childhood. So once I hit adulthood when I was on my own, it was like a free for all. It was like, whoa, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, because it was all stuff that I never did before.
right. Yeah, no, that's very similar paths, right? Like very similar upbringing as well.
Yep.
So then how did you see that like I guess moving forward through that, your main goal was, I don't want to fucking live here anymore, or I don't want to be around this. When did you come to that aha moment? Because I know, like, for me personally, I got into arguments with my mom like two or three times, and I got like thrown out or I left on my own. And then either I came back, but there was this one moment where I was like, I'm never coming back, and that was it for me. How did that work out for you, and what were those
First
type of things?
time I tried to leave, I think it was 12 years old,
Mm,
maybe younger than that. I tried to run away. I got on my bike, I packed a bag, and I said, I'm running away. My grandfather probably found me like 2, 3 blocks away. I intentionally meant like I am not coming back.
mm,
I didn't know where I was going. I didn't give a shit where I was going. I just didn't want to be there anymore. So from that moment forward, I said I just got to get to 18. As soon as I'm 18, I don't give a shit what I got to do, but I'm not staying here.
mm,
So I at 16, I left no, yeah, 16, I left my mom's house and moved in with my dad, thinking it was going to be better because he had just had a baby and like we are going to have this family environment. Not better. The abuse probably was worse. I remember one specific time we got into a fight. I called my mom to come get me because we were fighting, and he punched my whole tooth through my lip.
God damn.
Uh, he says it never happened, but I mean, I remember the hole in my lip, and cops were called, but I never pressed charges. And I don't know if it's because I have like the mentality like snitches get stitches, or if I just couldn't do that because it was my father. I don't
Right.
really know. Um, so
Well, hold on.
once I
So
graduated,
wait, let's explore that. So what do you think it is?
um, I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest, because I've found myself as an adult in abusive relationships,
Hmm.
and I still couldn't press charges because like it's like something like you don't like you it was always shoved down your throat like you don't speak that you don't do that like that makes you a bad person by doing that. But now I realize through healing and stuff that like that's what it's there for, and that's how you protect yourself
Hmm.
because I put myself in a lot of bad situations from that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I agree with you. I think there's, especially if when the abuse comes from like someone that you love, right? Someone that there's like an emotional tie to it. I think it becomes really hard to, press charges or like or take those actionable steps to either sever the relationship or step away from it. And I feel like talking out of experience, being the other person and not at the other half, right? Growing up being the victim and then growing up as an adult and becoming the victimizer, like I can see it on both ends where it becomes like it's hard for the other individual that's in this loving relationship, right? Because there's parts of that you're like, wow, this person is my father, this person is the other person that loves me, and why would I want to send them away if they're actually really good people down, down below? There's a good person there, but I agree with you. It becomes tough, and I think it becomes easier though once you start becoming aware of your own what you need, right, and what that individual needs too in terms of like the intention. Because I think there's certain things like if the person goes away, is that a moment of reflection for them? Is that a moment of like, oh fuck, I don't want to be here, and if I continue doing this, it could be worse for me, right?
It's
Like
like,
putting them in that
yeah,
situation.
consequences to your actions. There's always got to be consequences to your actions.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy. Like looking back at it too, for me, I'm like, I'm very, very I guess surprised that that never had like I've been put in handcuffs as well because of my craziness, but never and I'm thankful that never that was to an extent where I got charges pressed and things like that. But after a while, it really was that. It really was like, do I really want to keep doing this? Do I really want to keep
Yep.
like dealing with the situation or having something like this and then feeling like shit when you hurt somebody,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so
And
that's
it's funny because we are so similar. Like we mirror each other so well because not only was I victim growing up and in relationships with a man, I was in a relationship with a woman and I became the physical abuser.
mm,
Not to say she wasn't emotionally abusive and like made me react, but I reacted physically
right.
multiple times until finally I was like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
Mm, mm. What was your aha moment then for that in terms of, and how long ago was that? It was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, this so I left May 10th, 2020. My aha moment was quarantine. I
Mm,
was quarantined with her for 5 weeks and it was just 24/7 around her. And I was like, I really hate this woman. I hate
mm,
her. I was like, why am I here? And then she insisted I didn't have a relationship with my father. And then that's when I realized like I gotta go. I
mm,
can't. Like there's no way around this. And I stood for as long as I did because I did marry her. And I was raising her daughter.
mm,
And I just was like, I was broken as a person, but I was like, I can't keep staying. If I stay, like, it's just gonna be nothing but like demolition.
mm, mm, mm. Okay. And so let's do this. Let's take us. So you went from like you moved out, and then let's I guess take us through everything of or a little bit of that in terms of like what you. So growing up this way, maybe not being aware of how these things would affect you. What were some of the decisions that you were taking from after you left through whether it was high school, after that? I don't know. I'm not sure whatever
So
that time frame was.
I left shortly after high school,
Mhm.
19-ish. I lived with a couple people for a little bit, and then finally at 21, I got my first apartment. Um, and I found myself right away in a trauma bonded, abusive relationship, and I of course didn't know what that was back then.
Right.
Um,
What was that for
but
you back then? Like, can you put yourself back and identify like what was that for you? Was it just finding someone that like appreciated you and you guys
I just found
appreciated?
somebody that showed me that honestly it was, and knowing now, he showed me the attention I never got before.
Mhm.
He was with me all the time, and he was affectionate, and he was funny, and like I was like, "Oh, I finally found somebody that, you know, doesn't want to change me, that doesn't want to make me different." So, and so we went like a
These were at times when there wasn't influence involved, right? Like these were like when you guys were sober and hanging and chilling, or like
yeah, just drinking, smoking sometimes, like nothing, no hard drugs yet or anything like that. Um, and I mean, I did find myself like arguing with him a lot, but that was normal to me. I grew up arguing all the time
right,
and all
right,
that kind of stuff.
just
And
part of it.
he was a womanizer. He was a cheater. Always was from the beginning. But that's my father. He
Mm.
always was that way. He always had multiple women for me growing up. I might not let my father listen to this podcast.
No, it's okay. I think it's, you know, whenever they're ready. They don't need to have to, but whenever they want to.
Yeah.
Because it's good to hear it. Like, you know what I mean? It's good to hear a perspective in another way. Like you're not speaking to him directly, but you're speaking of situations that, you know, could be
Yeah.
meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we would argue, and we were always arguing about other women. And then that brought me down. Um, I had quit college so I could have the apartment. So I had quit college so I could work the two jobs. That brought me down into like the arguing, all this stuff. And then he brought me into, or convinced me, because he knew I always had a tendency to be attracted to women too, to the polyamorous like lifestyle.
Mhm.
And that just triggered a lot of like jealousy and why am I not enough? And um, all those icky feelings. So like my mental wasn't good from it at all. Um, but finally I ended up meeting my ex-wife through the apps, through the polyamory, lifestyle. And he was still talking to other women. So I said, "Oh, this is gonna be better. Like she's promises she's always gonna be around and all that kind of stuff." It wasn't any better. It
Mm.
was not any better. It was probably worse. She has severe mental health issues, and probably undiagnosed, but definitely narcissistic. Like broke me as a person so far down. I ended up back with him. Um, but a little bit backwards. I ended up trying cocaine for the first time with the ex-wife. So we
Yeah,
used to
so
party
the
a little bit.
ex-wife was the influence that introduced you to it?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I had promised myself always that I was never going to do cocaine because of my biological mother.
Mm.
And it's 25 and she was like, "It's okay. I'm going to take care of you, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So I did it, and then I got a little more comfortable with it. We'd go to Vegas like a couple of times a year and I'd do it again. And I was like, "Okay, this is fun." Like,
Okay.
whatever. Um, and then after I left her, I was comfortable where I was like, "Oh, I can do whatever I want." Started doing ecstasy, started doing coke once a month, twice a month, whatever, on the weekends. Before I knew it, I was back with the ex-boyfriend that I had been with here, and he started selling coke.
Mm.
So before I knew it, it was available every single day. And best way to put it, fastest way to put it, in the final breakup, the two of them like got together against me, sent very private sex videos to my family, posted me doing drugs online,
Mm.
all this crazy stuff, trying to attack me, trying to like destroy me as a person,
Right.
trying to make me not have anybody. You know what narcissists do. And I was trying to quit, but at that point, yeah, I was so comfortable with cocaine that like it was like no big deal, not realizing all of the possibilities every time you do it, every risk you're taking, because like, let's be honest, it's illegal for a reason. And not only is it illegal for a reason, cocaine's not cocaine anymore. It's
Mm,
not coke from the 80s. There's fentanyl, xylitol, all those different things in it. And January 26, 2022, I was given a line of cocaine, quote unquote. It was fentanyl. I overdosed and I died. And I see it now as like I died to my old self.
mm, mm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What was it? January what?
26, 2022.
2022. God damn, like 2 years ago only. So you died two
Yeah.
years ago.
I died 2 years ago.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things, right? Something that we always talk on the podcast is influence, thoughts, emotions, decisions, your actions. So what, like, obviously the influence were other people, right? And I feel like when we say narcissist, or when I hear people say narcissist, I feel like that's just, again, the vocabulary word that we label things as. But it's at the same time, if we were to break these other individuals down, I think it's just there's something that's missing for them, and they yet are aware of the things that they're doing to other people with the actions that they take on. And it's unfortunate because, like, I think we don't really learn this, right? Like when we grow up, no one's teaching us self awareness right now. No one's everyone's just teaching us. Well, for us, right, in terms of how we
Yeah.
grew up, it's like fucking get your good grades, or else you're gonna get the backhand, and that's it. I don't want to hear shit anymore, right? So
Literally.
yeah, exactly. And so I think that is that, and then we seek something else out. We seek the why can't my life be like so and so, or why can't it be more like X, Y, and Z? And I think that becomes the influence throughout our journey, especially during those teens and adolescent years of 20s, where we're trying to figure it out on ourselves. At the same time, we're still very connected to our influence, right? The way we grew up, or what we think is correct, or the reason I'm arguing is because I love you and I'm sorry. Like you just see this cyclical shit all the time.
Or even follow, or like finding the same kind of partner. Like I don't know if you found yourself, but I found myself in patterns where like
Mhm.
I dated men like my father. I ended up marrying a woman like my biological mother.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so
Yeah, I see it all the time too, actually, and it's I see the good stuff, and sometimes the not so good stuff that we try to work on for sure, and likewise ourselves, right? I'm sure there's certain tendencies that we picked up while we grew up that way that ultimately manifest themselves later on, but at the same time, we're like we're not like them, and at certain times it's like, oh shit, I guess I am kind of like that in this
now
certain
as an
situation.
adult, when I speak, I'm like, oh my God, I sound like my father. I sound like
Yeah.
my mom. I'm like, holy
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, let me take a second to reflect on this. So that's crazy. All right. So then and I feel like I feel like throughout that journey between, where you were and then you died and relived, there was just a lot of like emotional one to probably affect turmoil emotions of wanting to be, or wanting to be loved, or wanting to be included, and then connecting with certain individuals that are in this sort of same subconscious lack of awareness, and it just becomes like it's like a giant party. It's kind of like what it is, it's the levels of
And
awareness.
it's a cycle. It's just a
Right.
cycle.
Right. It's crazy, man. Okay, so then what was the decision? So the influence was, your previous wife when it came to doing your first line of cocaine that led you to this other crazy shit. What was that situation like? And then what were the influence? Were you like already drinking? You felt like this person loved you. You felt like this person had like their best interest. And then when they were like, "Hey, let's do cocaine," what was that like? Like if you can
I was
replay.
scared. I was really scared. And I was like I literally like froze up and was like shaking my head like no, 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 no. And she looked me in the face and she's like, it's okay. I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
Mm,
And like that's a moment that I gave up my power. And like if I had any advice for my younger self was never give up your power to somebody else. Because you always ultimately know what's best for yourself.
mm, mm. Okay, that's valid. That's valid. Now, did know what was best for you because you didn't really want to.
I didn't want to.
Okay,
I didn't
so
want to
so
do it.
then what made you do it?
Um, I don't want to say peer pressure, but I want to say like one, I didn't like want to look like, oh, like I'm a chicken or a scaredy cat.
Yeah,
And two,
right.
like I thought I was in love with this girl. Like I thought like, and when like she made me feel like I was gonna be safe no matter what.
Right.
And I know nobody can make you feel any type of way, but like I never had someone that was like, "Oh, I'm always gonna be there for you," or I'm not gonna let
Right.
anything bad happen to you or whatever. Because my parents would say that, but then I felt like bad stuff always happened with my parents.
Right. Right. Crazy. Crazy. It's and at the end of it, I think we both it's just the needing and wanting to feel a certain way along with like the influence, right? Like society's influence too, to not want to be the person that doesn't do something in that moment. And there's been studies like that. There was a video I saw where a bunch of people in the waiting room and they would play a sound, and when that sound played, everybody would stand up. And so they would have one person come in that didn't know what was happening, and after like 15 minutes, that person started standing up. And like it was insane. So yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so then what? All right, you had crazy fentanyl experience. You technically died, right? Like you were
Yep,
technically dead, got
yep.
revived. So right now, I feel like that's your aha moment. That's like a point of perspective that you get. What came
So
from that?
what came from that? So my family actually came down from New Jersey. I was in Florida at the time. And they convinced me to move back up to New Jersey, and I did. I went to rehab. I started seeing a psychiatrist.
Now, did you go to rehab by choice, or was that sort of by again influence in terms of like what
I mean,
parents were asking for?
everybody said I needed rehab, blah, 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 blah. And when I came back, I was just lost. I was like in a place that I hadn't been in like almost 10 years because I moved to Florida when I was what, 23, 24. Um, and I was in a place that I felt like I hated because all of the bad memories. And I was like, I had no job at the time because I gave up everything and left. Um, I was living in my mom's house at the time, and like I hadn't lived in my parents' house since I was very young. And
Now, is this mom and dad,
so I
like
was like,
bio mom and dad?
not bio mom. Bio
Okay.
mom is in Florida. My mom that raised me, my
Okay.
adopted
But
mom,
that's
basically.
mom, right? So when
Um,
you reference mom, it's
yeah,
like
that's mom.
it's like my pops for sure.
Yeah, that's mom.
Okay, cool, cool.
And so it was kind of like, what do I have to lose? Like if I don't go, look at where I'm at. So really it was like a no lose situation. And it was only 30 days. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it's worth trying.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't think it was gonna do anything. I didn't think it was gonna help, nothing. I was like, this is just a waste of my time, but I might as well waste 30 days because I have nothing else going for me right now.
Mm, mm, mm.
So I did that, and I just kind of started going through the motions of the things that I was told that I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Um, when I came back, I went to NA. Um, I started going to the doctors. I hadn't been to the doctors in a long time, and started taking care of myself medically. I had to end up getting a surgery. I had to have my gallbladder removed in June 2022. Um, I met I met someone that I started dating. We dated for about a year. And I stood clean. I stood clean for a year because when I was in rehab, I promised myself that I would stay clean.
Mhm.
For a year, for 1 year, because I really didn't think I was an addict. And I still don't see myself as a stereotypical addict, I should say. But in that year, I was still kind of just doing what everybody else told me to do. And then at that end of the year, I got my own place again. I got an apartment. I was single, and I felt like I was finally able to make my own decisions again. So with making my own decisions, I said, fuck that. I can smoke weed. Like I've been smoking weed since I was 19. Like, fuck that. So I started smoking weed again. And then the summertime came around, and I hadn't had like a Jersey summer in a long time, probably ever really. And my brother is a big time, like he loves to like hang out in the Jersey Shore and stuff. So I started hanging out with my brother. And in the meanwhile, I was still going back and forth to Florida to see my bio mom. And I did coke again with her. But
With
I
your
felt
mom?
like that was a
God
big issue.
damn.
I ended up doing That's how I ended up getting on it so heavily was because after I left the ex-wife, I started hanging out with my bio mom again, and we were doing drugs together.
Damn. So
Um,
mom's still on bio mom's still on that shit.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I um I did it I did it like 2 or 3 times with her in the beginning of 2023. And so in the summer I was hanging out with my brother, drinking, smoking, hanging out, and I was doing fine. I was going to work. Like
Right.
I wasn't having major issues. Um and there was one night that I went to a bar with my brother and some weird guy, I don't know, whatever. And his friend was there with his girlfriend. And now his girlfriend I call was my complete kryptonite, like my typical like blonde hair, big butt, like so pretty. Yeah. So, he goes to me and I was already like, feeling good. She was
Yeah.
like, "Do you want to go to the bathroom?" And I was like, and I wasn't thinking cocaine at all. I wasn't. I was thinking other stuff because I was obviously attracted to her.
Right.
And I said, "Yeah." So we go to the bathroom and I see her pulling out her
Wait,
wallet.
wait, wait. And you know what? So let's do this. Let's pause this one right now for this first episode. Let's close this one down. We're gonna do a part two to this.
All
Um,
right.
so we'll leave him with a little bit of cliffhanger to see what happens at the bar. And again, this is after, right? So this is after you've already gone to what was it?
I went to rehab. I
You
did a
went to
year of
rehab,
NA.
NA,
Um,
and then you started
I,
hanging out, and then you start hanging out with the brother who loves the Jersey lifestyle, a little bit of like the beach, alcohol, drugs, etc. And then we find herself at the bar hanging out, and then you see this hot blondie, and she asks you to go to the bathroom.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll pick up with that in part two. I can't wait to hear it, and then we'll get into some of the things in terms of where you are now, how you've changed these thoughts, perspectives, what you're working on now. I definitely am interested in learning about your morning routine. I know you're saying you have something like that, and you're also working on your nighttime routine. All right, so everybody, this was an exciting one, and again, remember you're not alone. There's people out there that share similar stories, similar journeys, and remember, at the end of the day, it's just these basic emotions that we go through that we're looking for as human beings, right? Because outside of this structure of society, in terms of like a transaction, hey, cut my dog's fur for money. There's more than that to it, right? There's a human being that's bringing their dog, even the dog itself, right? Even Ginger, whoever, fill the
Yeah.
like there's a connection here that we're trying to understand with other people in terms of their situation and perspective. So stay tuned for part two. Stephanie, thanks for coming on the show. Let's keep it going, keep crushing it. And what?
Nothing changes until you do.
Woo! Let's go, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you guys again soon on the next one. Peace. All right.